Howdy. How's it going, everyone? My name's Reese, also known as RSJ, in Rhythm XC manager. Uh, we have some special guests here today. The developers have kindly donated half an hour or so to answer all of your questions. So, how we doing, guys?
What's up, stream?
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
What's going on?
How's the vibes in the studio today?
Oh man, it's pretty cooked. It's good. Hey, we got the AC on, blasting really cold.
What's the temperature down in Melbs today?
I don't know. We got a bit of a heat wave coming though, so we're just preemptively freezing ourselves.
Yeah,
I think
nice.
it's like 29 today.
Yeah, it's
Not
about
too bad.
it's about
That's
28,
Celsius.
29 up here in Sydney today.
That's like 1,000,000 Fahrenheit for those people on Fahrenheit.
Dumb system. All right, you guys can kick it off. We have a question from Protheus. Do you guys want to read it out? Or do you want me to read it out?
How about you read, and we'll pass the question around, see who wants to answer.
All right. Pro__Theus asks, or states at first. So you guys are based in Melbourne, right? Did you study the game slash design slash computer science here? What courses did you do and where?
Uh-oh, we're up. We've got a corker already. I know Will's passionate about this. Maybe he can get started.
Yeah. Is that working? Yeah, a bit of a delay. Yeah, I think like half of us have studied, half of us haven't. I do have strong opinions on this. I've also taught into games programs. Um, and ultimately, I think like, yeah, doing game study can be pretty helpful, but the best part about it is you can meet other like-minded people and make projects together. But in some cases, you're not going to be able to meet the right people or get the right teachers, in which case the course isn't going to help you too much. There's nothing that you can't learn on your own time. In fact, I think still you'll learn more on your own time. And so I think, take it with a grain of salt. I think on the flip side too, like, even if it's very productive, you have a games degree, nobody cares that you have a games degree in the games industry, and certainly not outside of it. So if you have, an animation degree, computer science degree, probably even any kind of Bachelor of Arts, as long as you can show that you can apply yourself, that's gonna work inside of games and out. But a games degree is only gonna look good inside of games.
Other guys got anything to add to that?
We can just let you know. Yeah, like most of us actually studied or learned game dev in Brisbane. Like Shaf, I don't think has had any formal training, but he kind of studied at the School of Halfbrick, which is where most of us learn like game dev full on. It was just like through building games like full time. Yeah, like we all like Shaf, Will, and I all worked at Halfbrick Studios. Um, like most of it was we just kind of learned on the job. We had some basics that we learned either at school or just on our own time, but then just being able to actually do project after project there was the main thing that helped us like kind of get good.
Doing is learning, essentially. So just do. It's not like you do a degree and then you get a job and you're like, well, I'm done learning. That's all. It's like you're going to be learning constantly anyway. So just you got to adopt that mentality of just like everything you do is an opportunity to learn something. Like, it's just that mentality never goes away with anything you do in life. So it's just good to adopt anyway.
Absolutely. And on that note, if you do want to study games or game development, I'd look for a university that focuses on doing projects, because the best way you're going to learn is through doing those projects. Hitting a textbook or doing the lectures, it's only going to get you.
All right, should we get to another question?
Well, I had a question for you guys. How long were you guys studying for?
I did a 2-year course, so not too long. I think Will's was longer.
Yeah, I did a 3-year Bachelor of IT and a 1-year honors in media and communication.
I just did a 3-year bachelor's, so just pretty standard.
All right. Next question. MK Nerd asks, where do we ask the questions? You ask them right here in the Twitch chat.
No, he's got one a few down.
MK Nerd actually asked a real question. What's the toughest part about developing Spin Rhythm?
Ooh, the big questions again. I don't know. Who wants to start?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
Let's pass to Shaft this time to start. What's the toughest part? Maybe we should semi-explain our roles. Do you mean like overall or like for us as individuals, depending on what we do on the team?
I don't know. Both?
All right, let's hit it with Shaft. Shaft's like the creative visionary, I guess. Like this game was his idea a long time ago, and we decided to really take it on a couple of years ago. So, what's the hardest part for you, Shaft, in overall the project and what you do on?
Well, I do mainly all the visuals. Well, all the visuals. But coming up with the ideas, it isn't hard. It's just execution. And working with Steve on that, we probably spent 2 years to actually get it to a state we liked, and then probably another year and a half before we actually, well, maybe a year before it was actually released on Steam. But there's nothing really hard right now besides trying to come up with a single player experience.
You guys there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I must have just cut out. Yes, keeping up with updates and getting actually good songs in the game that we all will like and agree on. I generally have a Spotify playlist that I play the songs, and if like one gets like really old, then it just gets cut off. But yeah, that's me.
Was there some songs that you guys really wanted, but it was hard to get through like record labels?
Plenty. I did most of the licensing stuff. Shaft kind of sends me tunes that are good, and we kind of half veto them between the team and half not. Like we just kind of throw tracks around, and if they really stick around, as he said, we really go for them. But there's plenty where you just like, yeah, this is the one. Then you just certain labels are very difficult to deal with. Certain labels are very easy to deal with. I think people would know by now that like Monster Cat and NCS are really fine. A couple of the others, like Opio's labels, really hit and miss. One of the tracks was like, nope. And then the other one, Ginger Lizard, was just like, yeah, great, no problem. I guess the other one had another artist working on it, so maybe they blocked it. Yeah, just
was a problem.
sorry.
Televisor?
Yeah. So like we wanted Old School by Televisor and something from the Fat Rat. Bunch of tunes like that are managed by another label other than Monster Cat. Like they kind of share the management of it, and they're just we have to deal with the Australian branch of them. Like even if the international, like whatever, like the American branch is like, yeah, we want to get in a rhythm game. Cool, I'll pass you on to the Australian branch. It's like you have to negotiate with them, and it's like, ugh, and they're just really like they can be really tough, that particular label, just because they're not so into games and they don't really understand the value of it. I don't know. It's really tricky to say. Maybe they do understand it better than I do. I don't know. For me, the most hard thing about working on the game is just admin. Like, just if you've got a show like an expo coming up, or some people want marketing materials or stuff like that, it's just like admin can just be endless. But that's a large part of my job.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanic5 asks, what's your favorite rhythm games?
Oh, Steve, you start.
Well, I mean, I started getting into it just with Rock Band and Guitar Hero, so that's like probably the rhythm games that I've played the most of. I also like more experimental ones, or like different ones. Like I don't know if you'd say Thumper is experimental, but I really like the way, like the style of Thumper. Just like games that aren't like some people might not even call them a rhythm game, but they're like doing something different and cool. So I like that kind of stuff. There's this one called I think I always forget the name of it. It's got a really cool style. It's like polyphonic or something. something like that. It's got just like hectic charts to it. But yeah, I've never like I liked Osu as well back in the day on the DS. But yeah, who else?
I love Osu. Yeah, I think all of us are like Guitar Hero Rock Band. That was a big deal, and Owen Dunn was huge too.
Yeah,
Um,
I played Rock Band a lot, and that was probably a huge inspiration because, like, not that it's got anything to do with Rock Band, this game, it has a similar track vibe where the notes are just coming down the track. And I noticed there wasn't any like good rhythm games on mobile. I guess yeah, this kind of started as a mobile game, and that's why I thought that they could use the screen to actually, instead of just tap tap games which were only there, you could actually do more things like spins and guiding the wheel and taps and holds. And I don't know why people won't, you know.
Before you trigger people, Sharth, just let them know that the prototype for this was like 6 years ago. Maybe there are a lot of good rhythm games on mobile now, but he's talking about a while ago.
Yeah.
Was there a point where did you guys ever like all gather in a lounge room playing Rock Band, like the drums, bass, guitars, and microphone?
I did a lot.
I didn't know these guys back then. Unfortunately, I never got to play Rock Band.
Yeah, we did it actually at Halfbrick a few times as well. That was always fun. Also, if like a good mobile game from 6 years ago is Groove Coaster. I did play a bit of that. That game's sick.
Yeah, that's good too.
Metalman_20. What is one of your favorite songs that you worked on charting wise?
Ugh. I don't know. I love the Anomaly tracks. Right now, doing the XD stuff, I love working on all of them. They're great. Honestly, the hardest thing is making the earlier difficulties really, really tight and really fun, because it's very easy just to kind of get lost trying to make it too easy, or it can get too hard. Like just balancing it while still making it fun. That's really hard. But in terms of like which ones I like working on, I just did Rattlesnake, and that was really fun. Like even though the XD chart's really long, it only took me a couple of hours because I know the music so well. But yeah, I love a lot of this music. I would never listen to this music for fun, but like in the game, it's just like, oh my god, this is so good.
Would you say you're the main charter in the group, Dave?
Yeah,
The only, basically.
yeah. We split it a bit before, but I kind of just it was my area of expertise, like being more musically trained. But so I don't know. I think I've got probably the best ear in the group, which helps. But yeah, we split it up more early on. But I like, you know, Shart's got a ton of art to do, being the only artist, and Steve was our only programmer for ages. So like, I was the third person on the team, so it's kind of my job.
Yeah, you don't want to play my charts.
Well, Dave.
Steve's charts were great. They weren't technical, but they had really beautiful musical ideas, so I could like take them and gamify them a bit.
Yeah, it's just these days all my charts are just debug ones, so they're just nonsense. Like testing the mechanics and putting them into the
Steve did the original like ideas for 2 minutes, like just like the flowing of the lyrics and stuff, and that really inspired me a lot to do that kind of stuff more.
As
Okay.
for our favorite charts, I love High Score and Ginger Lizard. They're my two.
All right. Goonlord wants to know what some tips you guys have for mapping. He wants to get into it eventually, and any sort of advice would be cool.
Oh man, there's like literally so many possibilities. I'll do a big video about what I think works in the game, not in a way that's like, hey, you should chart like this, because obviously you can play the game and you can see what I or we think works well in the game. But I don't know. It's complicated. It's it's a really difficult thing. Like you could go so many ways with it, and I would encourage you to just try things, and if they're fun, then that's great. But yeah, it takes a while to develop your own style. I think if you haven't charted before, and to get really confident knowing, oh no, this is fun and this is hard enough, and whatever.
Yeah, you could also like start with just the two hemispheres of the tracks, only putting pieces in there, and then work from there. That way, it like limits your like actually places where you put the pieces, so you can make more interesting things. If you do that well, then you can mix up the lines and switching stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice because like the furthest motion you can do is from where you typically see notes going left to right. That is the widest motion you can do in this game. If you go the very furthest left we allow you to the very furthest right of the same color, it actually means you don't have to move the wheel at all. If you just sit like the other color in the middle, you'll hit them both without moving. So I guess that's a really good way to get started, is just what Sharp said.
That's Gross wants to know, would you guys add something in the future where we could add our own custom song to the game?
Yes, we're doing that. It's just that the guy who's overhauling our editor had a baby, which is awesome, but he's off for a month. He's got paternity leave and they're taking care of their newborn. And so that's been pushed back about a month. But that's a pretty big project, getting all of the features into our own editor, like user facing. It's surprisingly large because of what we want to let you guys do in terms of like shortening tracks and lengthening them and just doing all that clip editing and BPM editing that we do in Unity, doing that in the actual editor. Getting that nice, that takes a while. So that's definitely our number one priority, I'd say, once he gets back.
N1C Sys, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Is there plans for other game modes?
Yes.
Well, it depends what you mean by game modes. Like the core mechanics will probably always be the same. Like just last week, like when we did the tournaments, we were talking about just scoring changes that we could do. So like we might just have a different mode for different scoring, sort of like just ways that we do scoring.
More fair scoring for tourneys, so you don't take one hit and then you're basically out. So more accuracy based, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but then like we've been kicking around with the idea of a sort of a core single player experience as well, where you can actually sort of quote unquote finish the game, or at least like have some sort of sense of completion of the game. So that's like we don't want to just do something. We want to do something simple, but we don't want to do something that's like just super basic, just like a finish this set list. So we've kind of been inspired by roguelikes a little bit. So like we think it could be a cool mix of like traveling through the universe, playing like finishing tracks, deciding like the path that you want to go, which songs do you want to like tackle. It's a bit vague at the moment, but I don't know. Chuck might have
DJ FTL, basically.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
But we've got split screen and we've got ideas for mutators for like weekly challenges and things. So there's a couple more modes very simple like that we can very easily put in that just require a lot of UI kind of making them exciting to play, because they already work, but it's like you got to juice it up a bit. Well, the mutators don't work. We haven't coded them, but they'll be pretty easy.
I forgot who wants to know, is there a plan for some background removals?
Yes.
Yeah, like we're working actually on a practice mode at the moment, and so when you're in practice mode, you'll like it'll have a different background. But if you guys just want just to be able to disable all backgrounds, we can work that in as well. That shouldn't be too hard.
The Bruno Sario, are there any plans for collabs with other games, for example Rocket League? Maybe
yeah, I mean, sure.
Maybe like using their tracks, but yeah.
Do you mean like plans that we have in motion, or like ideas that we have? Because I mean, we can answer either. Like, I know Monster Cat's really keen to do DLC packs, so I mean, we might do something with them in the future. Any kind of good crossover that fits in the game, we'd be happy to do. We also would like to do maybe not necessarily game crossovers, but like EPs from artists or that kind of thing.
Yeah, like Beat Saber had a crossover with Rocket League, and they had like little hats that were the Beat Saber slicing objects. So we haven't actually. We'd have to be approached by Beat Saber or Rocket League to do something like that. But yeah, hell yeah, why not?
Yeah, we're just small fries at this stage, I think.
Slam the Black Cat. When are you releasing new songs?
Good question. Well, we're releasing 23 XD levels hopefully within about a week, and in our latest patch. And then we're going to Taipei Game Show and we're going to PAX. So hopefully we can have a couple of new levels within the next couple of months. Because I guess, yeah, I don't know. We'll keep adding new levels regularly, but we don't have any going into the next patch.
Tappery Oz. Are there plans for a public Trello for us to follow?
That's a good question and something I'm trying to figure out. Anybody who's been following on the Reporter Bug, we've been talking about bug reporting and also the release scheduling and different tools to do that. I think right now the game is just so reactive. We're listening to a lot of feedback that, and we're so engaged with the community. I don't know how much we know that you guys don't know, so I don't know how useful that will be. And also, our plans are constantly changing as we learn how things are going with you guys. What are you liking? What aren't you? New ideas coming in there. I think a Trello might be a bit too far for now, but having a better place to just communicate our immediate release plans and stuff we've already shared with you guys, and using Discord a little bit better, I think would be helpful.
Second part of Tapriel's question. Are you happy with where the game is right now regarding sales?
Yeah, I think we've been pretty happy with the launch. We did a slightly better than I thought and slightly less good than Sharp was expecting. We kind of had this bet about it. But yeah, I think for an unknown IP, a new kind of game with kind of no marketing clout, I think it's done pretty well. And we've got some good ideas to kind of boost the numbers down the track as well. So yeah, we're pretty happy with our launch, I think.
Yeah, it's still in early access, and we're definitely hoping to push that further. I mean, so far the critical response, as far as it's been in early access, that's been great. We could always use more sales, but again, it's early access, so we don't want to get too focused on that. Just keep making the game better. But otherwise, for a genre that doesn't really have a place on Steam, I know there are, rhythm games on Steam, but it's never really made too much noise on the platform. I think, we're really doing quite a good job so far.
And we love the game, and that's what matters most, I guess.
Because love pays your bills.
Thanic 5. How many compatible controllers do you guys have for testing the game?
I think we've lost count.
Oh my God.
We've got a horde of them here. I've got like 6 on my desk right now. Yeah, we've got a few prototype things. Steve had a remote mobile phone touch one going on too. We've got about 10 DJ decks, some
5 or 6 game pads like Steam controller, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch Pro.
Yeah, we're getting some other rhythm game controllers in. We've tried implementing a few of them, but they're not as standardized as how they report themselves, so that's been a bit tricky. Suffice to say, though, we're gonna double that horde at least to come, I think.
Did you ever buy a controller and you're like, man, how sick is this going to be? And then
Oh, yes. But usually, like, they can be figured out in code a little bit or something. I guess, like, the 2DX controller was like that. We got one from Gamma 2, and it was like, it just went, the way it reported movement was really blocky, and it was like, oh crap, but we added some smoothing to that specific controller. Like, we can basically make any controller feel good, but we have to have that controller and add specific code, and it's just like, ugh, see ya.
Yeah, it's such a problem with the wheel input. Nobody has really worked on making good wheel input. The closest you can get is actually a decent MIDI deck at the moment. And the other controllers, they work perfectly for the games they're doing, but they don't have the fidelity we need for Spin Rhythm's wheel.
Dark Mist 48. How about a community poll to see what songs the community wants to be added?
Oh, yeah, sure. The problem with that is it's like you get, all right, Bruno Mars. It's like, okay, cool. I'll just go and hit up their management. Like, it's basically like, we've got a plan for what we'd love to see in the game. And, we hope the custom levels will fill that gap. for users for stuff that we don't implement. But in terms of, it could be very much administrative nightmare if the certain types of tracks are picked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this for a while, and licensing on top of that's a huge issue. So we didn't want to open it up too much because we always love to hear what kind of songs you want in the game. But whether it's realistic, we can even get those licensed for the game, or whether they can fit our timeline, or where we're going on the current track. It just we don't want to open that up too much because it's just gonna if we have to say no to a poll, then that's just a bummer for you guys. Why'd you go to vote and then we're just gonna poo-poo that?
Speaking of, MK Nerd asks, will Dave bless us with more original songs?
I hope so.
There's one I've written already, but I don't think it's as good as as Spin Cycle. I actually wrote it before Spin Cycle. It's called Dry Dreams, but it'll probably pop up eventually. But I don't think it's as good. I like the tune. It's like a kind of summer banger from the '90s or something. But it's.
I think we're hanging out for the tutorial remix extended edition.
If I had time to write my music, I'd love to, but I don't. So it's really something you should be doing full time, non-stop.
LTKL720, are there any note ideas that end up being scrapped due to it being uninteresting or just a bad feeling to play?
Oh yeah, we prototyped with flick notes, but then that ended up being just implemented in the hold notes where you just whip it across. So it's like a sharp right angle.
Yep.
Also, the scratch notes they're good, but I guess they're sad.
I think the biggest problem is so many ideas people have can be expressed just by really good charting of the existing notes. And so it's hard to introduce a new note that keeps it interesting.
Yeah, like the flick notes were like, it just you had to go from a spot and then like move the wheel a certain amount, like fast to the edge, and it felt good. But then it's like you don't know where your wheel is after you're done, so it's kind of like, oh, you're in no man's land. So it's like if you want to, as Will said, you just put two regular notes. You can do a flick. A spin is basically a flick. You've got scratch zones that are like lots of flicks. Like there are other ways to do it.
Of course, one idea that's been floated a bit is having more than two colors. And how does that go, Dave?
Well, it's like it's good, it's great, but it kind of just forces you to go like in one direction, which doesn't necessarily make the game better. It just makes it more complicated. So like, yeah, a lot of designing like this game, I know Shaf will be able to tell you, is like you can get all these ideas of stuff to put in, but like making it simple enough that it's really fun at a glance, that's difficult with any game. So you got to just rein yourself in sometimes. You're like, oh man, we could have more colors. We'll add like, a second kind of beat that you have to do with another button, and you can do like all these scratch zones and whatever. Like you've got to just go, no, like this is the core game and it is enough, and like you can do so much with it. Keep it simple.
Yeah, and trying to make all the colors that are already in the game work together is a bit of a nightmare.
Then Goku Snake, what are some subtle details in the game, feel and polish that people might not appreciate or were the hardest to get right?
That's a really good question. I think one thing I'd say is the community's been really good at picking out so much of the little polish in this game, the little details that you think people might forget, and they notice it and they report on it, and that definitely that's definitely encouraging for us because we do put a lot of effort into.
There's a couple of things. There's like when you go from one match note to another, if you're late to the second match note, there's a little grace period, a little window there, which like is so small. It's like 30 milliseconds or something. And or maybe like 50 milliseconds. And if you slice into that match note, you'll get it. But yeah, it just gives you a bit of leniency. Stuff like the spins, auto aiming, and how to visualize that. That kind of, I guess it wasn't hard. It just took a while to get in there and really like be visualized well. there's a thing to stop you being able to spam left and right really fast and just cheese the game and abuse that grace window. So like there's this hidden thing, like if you're spamming too fast, everything will hurt you. So there's a lot of like things under the hood you might not know about that just make it feel like when you do the gestures that the game demands of you, you succeed. And if you're trying to cheese them, you fail. And if you fail yourself, you fail as well. Yeah.
Zoe, what's on the horizon for the forthcoming updates?
Let me hit the patch notes. This next one's XD difficulty, 23 tracks with XD, scratch zones added to all other levels, note sounds, practice mode, the editor update where you can now add scratch zones yourself and beat holds, new OST artwork for all of the OST tracks as well, a bunch of balance, bunch of polish, and a bunch of bug fixes as well. And then beyond that, we've been talking about making a demo. We've been talking about customs.
They want to hear about customs.
Yeah, it's really up to David to get back to work. I think he's got about 2 more weeks of leave. I don't know.
I think he's coming back next week. And yeah, that'll be really interesting because we've got a lot of work to do with the track editor. Because obviously, a lot of you have been experimenting and already sharing tracks, and that's awesome. But there's still heaps of work to go there. And then getting that custom support and that custom clip support, which we're very excited about because it'll also, and we might not release this all at once, but we actually have a built-in system right now where you can remix tracks. So you can chart with 3 different clips, for example. And so once we do maybe the second or third major update from custom clips, we'll be able to make charts that involve 3 or 4 different songs and just go wild.
Yeah. No promises, but we might leave. Actually, David was talking about leaving that clip splicing out until later because it's just so complicated to visualize and to get. Because then it's like, oh, the level you're working on is a subset of multiple levels. So like, how the hell do you even visualize that? It's easy for us in a Unity sidebar, but it's very ugly and very hard to use. So we might just let people at the start just import an org or something and then chart that, whatever. But like the splicing, we'll do that later.
Yeah, that's not coming right away, but it's something I'm very excited about because it can definitely do some cool.
Pro_Theus, are you guys planning on making a dedicated SRXD account for saving progress, not based on the Steam cloud? I guess that might tie into releases from platforms.
Yeah, we talked about cross-platform stuff a bit.
Yeah, we could look into it. It's a lot of work, and although I think everyone would appreciate being able to have that, the amount of effort we'd have to put towards stuff like that means we have to prioritize other features in the game that everyone might prefer a bit more. As we can start overcoming some of the fundamentals, get all that single player custom track editor in, we can look at those kinds of frills.
Of the 23 songs available now, which one was the hardest to acquire a license for?
2 minutes for sure, because there were 7 parties involved. So like it says Feet Laserdisc and Rhythmklubben. So Kitty herself has a manager, or had a manager at the time, so that was 2 parties. Laserdisc was 2 dudes, one of who had left Laserdisc and was really hard to track down, just didn't answer emails for months, had to like get everyone to hound him. And then Rhythmklubben is 4 dudes in Sweden or something. So like the time difference, getting people to sign things, getting people to read things, it was just like it took about 5 months of just back and forth and emails, and like they didn't have any paperwork, so we had to use our own paperwork, and like it was just, yeah. But I think it's worth it. I love the track. So
Good on you, Dave.
What was the motivation behind to keep persevering this track to get a license?
it's a great tune, and Kitty wanted to have it in the game, and we wanted to have it in the game. So we just we were kind of halfway there, and we're like, all right, like let's just.
But you
let's,
didn't know
just
you were halfway there.
No, but you never know how far you are until the end of something like that, especially early on. Like if I saw a license like that now, I'd be like, is it worth it?
I'm really glad it's in there. I love it. I feel it sort of balances out the set list a little.
Definitely. That was probably the only difficult one, I think. Let's see, just looking through it. Some of the originals can be difficult, just like actually no, it's basically just 2 minutes.
Tappery Oz, are there plans to officially support custom colors or even custom note shape?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Definitely colors, but I'm not sure about note shapes. We could experiment with.
Is that one an easy one?
Yeah, it's not too hard. It's just a matter of like subbing colors or letting people set the colors themselves.
Yeah, it ties in with the colorblind support we want to add to the game as well. It's just been we've been working towards that slowly. It's just one of the many things that we need to get right. It takes, I guess actually implementing the colors is not so difficult. It's providing an interface for you guys to actually start picking the colors and make sure that you can't perhaps pick ones that don't make sense. Is going to be a little bit trickier.
I forgot who mentioned a bit earlier. What about having a shift key that you have to hold to change between red or blue?
I don't really understand the question, but it has reminded me of something. We had this idea for the mobile where like there's a certain note that appears and you like swipe up and it changes the color palette. So like everything behind it is like black and white or something. So it's like bang, you smash through this barrier and then all of a sudden you've got 2 different colored notes up ahead. It's just like a different gesture on mobile really and a bit of flair, but a shift button to change between red, like so like the whole track is mirrored or something like.
Yeah,
So the
what
red
is
and
that?
blue flip, so you don't have to actually match them up. You can always just follow with one bar, like follow with one wedge and just it changes.
Like Ikaruga or something. No, we didn't think about that because it kind of fundamentally breaks the game.
Takes a
like
spin out of spin rhythm.
yeah, it's not button rhythm.
I mean, it could work for controllers better.
I wouldn't mind exploring with it in sections or as a modifier or something.
Yeah, it's a pretty good idea actually.
Scroll through all the chat. Would call that final question.
Circle alignment rhythm XD. I love it.
G Fuel all the way. No Monster, it's G Fuel. We're a G Fuel.
Where did you get the XD from?
Extra difficulty.
Extra dimension.
It's extra dimension officially, but it was just because we wanted to separate ourselves from the mobile version. So, because it's not going to be the exact same game, so it just felt good to actually have a different name.
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming more and more. It's entirely different game, and XE just sounds so cool.
Lena Rain in the chat. What up?
Well, they would like to know just how cool is spin rhythm.
How cool is it? It's as cool as
A cucumber.
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's XD.
ice cold.
All right.
It's pretty cool, I guess.
Shock Dude X, is there a chance the wheel speed can be uncapped later? Is that going to be in the training mode?
Uncapped wheel speed.
Well,
I think I know what you're talking about. It's like just visually, the wheel always spins when you're in a spin. It always spins at the same speed. That was implemented just for consistency, but we can definitely make it like that. If you do a faster spin, it can just spin at that speed until it goes back to the consistent speed. So yes, we can work on that a little bit. I like fast spins too.
We all like fast spins, but Steve's withholding. He's dangling the carrot for us.
When can we get touch support for the beat note? My keyboardless tablet can only do easy normal songs right.
Yeah, we actually had that originally, and then just we didn't have the time to fix the UI and add an option in the menu and get the translation for it. But we can definitely, just add that as an option, so you can just say sort of how far up the screen is the um, the drum button.
I think it might even still technically be there if they modified the settings for the game.
Yeah, you
But
can
yeah,
hack it in.
before half of the touchscreen was used, or the trackpad or whatever it was used for the beat button. But we didn't explain that, so it just caused a lot of problems when people weren't cluing into why they lost the wheel movement when they moved to the other half of the trackpad.
Yeah, and it was for such a small number of players that we just kind of put on the back burner for the moment.
Don't worry, it's gonna come.
You can plug a mouse in and just wireless mouse and have that sitting there and just smash it, map all of the buttons to beat, and that's just a beat.
Akabaka. I thought in the beginning I remember seeing you guys were going to offer making custom backgrounds too. Is that still planned?
Yes, it is planned. It's kind of like we just need to design a system that's really consistent and what we can do is really complicated, but we need to design it into a system that's good for the user. It's not like you're not messing around with too many factors and fine tuning everything too much. It's like there's a more broad strokes you can apply that are more powerful sort of thing. It's one that's really complicated, especially for performance. So we definitely want that, but holy moly, it's turned into a bunch of work. But we need a good month to sit there and really nut all that out, and then another month to design all the assets for it, I think. So yeah, that's a really complicated one. We'd love to still stick to that promise, but if that disappears off the Steam store page at any time, you'll know why.
Do you guys have any current ideas of what kind of mutators you guys would put in the game?
Oh hell yeah! Let me grab the list.
There's always ramping up speed, or the actual ship can do a roller coaster thing where it starts flying in different directions.
Yeah, I remember when I was.
Start doing corkscrews.
Yeah, I remember still some of that when earlier on.
I think the day before release, it actually still had all this crazy movement in some of the tracks.
Yeah,
They were very
Well,
broken
which
though,
is
and
fine
kind of difficult
and cool
to control.
I think there was in one of the songs, if you could look at the highway and, for example, say you could see 10 notes, once the game or the highway did the spiral, you could only see 2 or 3 notes.
Yeah. It's one of the side effects of the way notes are presented on the track and where they appear and the speed of the ship in relation to the game space. It's complicated, but that's the kind of stuff we got to figure out. Mutators, we've got ghost notes kind of appearing either early or late, faster ship flight. There's one chaos mode where it's at certain kind of stable parts, like when you've done a spin, the upcoming notes might flip and mirror, or bits that won't interrupt the actual game can it can almost rebuild itself on the fly, the level, to be a kind of random challenge each time, but still the same gestures. That could be pretty nuts. Rainbow Road, notes cycling through a color palette, double wheel wedges, so half the size wedges, faster game mode, Zen game mode, vintage kind of track rendering at 320 by 240 upscale, one hit KOs, instant restart for broken streaks, and missed liftoff notes, that kind of stuff. Just the usual suspects.
There was another one I thought of where there's 2 tracks side by side, and when you spin, it jumps to the other track and has the notes on that side. It's just more of a visual modifier. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What about fading notes? So as they get closer to the
the ones that get closer to the wheel will disappear.
Yeah, that's the first ones I said. So ghost notes early and late, so
okay.
they can start invisible or end invisible, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Black and white notes, maybe.
kind of caught up in real. There, leave the viewers with.
Thanks, guys. It's great fun. Great questions. Had a great time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone.
We really appreciate the love for the game as well.
Yeah, you're
Thanks so much.
awesome community.
Alright, well, thanks all the viewers for stopping by. Thanks to all the viewers that liked some questions if you got out of it. Might do it again sometime soon, like months or something.
Great.
Awesome.
Alright.
See you then.
Catches.
See you all.
everyone.
Who are we raiding, guys?
What?
Not MK. We're the only one. Beat Saber?
Sure. That was your name. Oh, yeah, that sounds good.
Dave, disconnect.
Okay, bye.
Laters.
Or what if I just played the whole entire album right now? Yo, thank you for the raid, Spin Rhythm XD.